Hello, everyone, and welcome to Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure, TFYLP, episode number 181, recorded December 11th, 2015. I'm your host, Ron Land, a.k.a. Weird Wolf. Along with me tonight in-house is Insane Galvatron.
Hey, hello, everybody.
Hopefully you can hear him. And if you don't want to look at the screen, hopefully you're just listening on the audio version of the podcast and you're not having to look at this ugly mug. I not only have to look at him, but I also have to smell him since he's here in the same room. He's kind of like one of those botcom people that you just smell.
Well, plus I came here straight after work, so it's not like I had a chance to shower first.
And the smell of onions is just...
And I ate beans, so I'm like, there's a lot of weird smells.
Yeah, there's just like the smell of onions and a BO coming over here. I mean, he's...
you ruined it for my imagination. I was thinking it'd be more like Cthulhu, kind of like Stinkor from Masters of the Universe, you know?
Yeah. Ode to BotCon, yeah. Or just Ode to Convention, for that matter. So, but yes, along with us this evening is Rick Alvarez.
Hello, world of the internet.
And also Jim Black, a.k.a. Moroni Prime.
Yay! Hi.
Yay. Is your mic, like, swung up on the side of your head?
Yeah, see, I've got a headset that has two different audio jacks, one for mic and one for headset, but my Chromebook only has one audio jack. It's meant for the single three-stripe dealie, and I don't have one of those.
Oh. So you can't make your Chromebook airtight then, huh? So
yeah, essentially, I have to choose between the mic or the headphones. So.
But at any rate, we are gearing up for next week, December 19th. Mark your calendars. December 19th, special night, which is a week from tomorrow, Saturday, and we are starting to air. We're going to be airing at a special time at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have a huge show put together. Some things that are actually still in the works. Yes, huge. But this is an episode that you do not want to miss. And if you watch the video live, or even if you watch it down the road, you're going to watch the whole thing because there's just going to be a lot of stuff going on. We're doing a Secret Santa among all the cast members, and we're going to be opening gifts, talking about why we like certain things, about that gift, why we wanted it, any relations. We're also going to be doing a sorts of best and worst of 2015. What's our personal picks for the best and worst figures of 2015 that are released this calendar year? So we're going to take a look at those and a lot of other things. But you're not going to want to miss it. Believe me, you're not going to want to miss it. A lot of firsts. I don't think we've ever done anything quite like this. We've had holiday episodes before. I think last year was. We had a good one where we kind of reminisced our favorite holiday memories, and we may revisit that topic down the road.
I'll never forget the holiday episode that I hosted when you were kind of taking a hiatus, and the recording only caught like the first 7 minutes, so the episode never actually aired, even though we spent like 2 hours on here talking.
Which, I also want to say Google Plus seemed to have an issue last week. We seem to have lost the first minute and a half, 2 minutes of last week's episode. And so if you go back and watch the video or listen to the audio, it just abruptly starts off with Brett talking about headmasters. Hopefully that doesn't happen this week, which is why I'm kind of stringing out the intro to the show here.
Oh, so none of this here is actually going to be in the show.
Well, if it is truncated, then you're just missing intros and some chit chat. But guys, I got to state again, tune in next week. It's going to be amazing. Yes.
Astonishing. Uncanny.
Astonishing. Yes.
Spectacular.
Beyond belief.
An all-star gala. is the best way I can describe it. I mean, everybody from all points of the show is going to be here. So, yeah. Combiner Wars Buzzsaw. Any thoughts on that? I know there was a post I shared on the Facebook group a short while ago. What do you guys think about?
Let me just jump right into this, and I think this is, I know you mentioned that next week we're going to talk about the best and the worst, but man, I think there should be a whole other category of worst for this Buzzsaw figure. I mean, it's just a waste of resources, of design, of materials, peg space, Jim, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Shipping, marketing. I mean, they couldn't even put the stickers on right. Just paint the thing if you can't sticker them right. So it is my pick for worst figure ever, and I think this trumps Armada Laserbeak.
No, I disagree. I don't think it's a good toy, like as far as fantastic, but I don't think it's that bad. I actually have fun just fiddling with it. This is one of the first toys in a long time that I actually took into the bedroom and sat on the nightstand next to the bed just so I could fiddle with it. First thing when I woke up.
Now, if
good night, everybody.
Yeah, if the show had ended, that I just took into the bedroom with me. Yeah.
First toy I took into the bedroom with me.
Greg, I knew you were weird, but I didn't know you were that weird.
No, I just set it on the nightstand to fiddle with it the next morning when I woke up.
Right.
I'm more concerned with the fact that it's a buzzsaw that he's taking into the bedroom.
I would not want to play. I would not want to play with your RID train bots.
I don't actually have those, but I do have Astro.
Those people who have been
That's a
around.
joke.
Those people who have been around on the TFW forums for many, many years will totally get this reference. But all I have to say are the words Kitty Rose.
I've been on there for like 11 years and I still didn't get it.
Yeah, it's actually, I think, predates that. I think it's, about 15 years ago?
Well, it was when RID was new.
Yeah.
She bought her toy right off the shelf.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was on there. I just hadn't registered yet.
Team Silver Bullet Trains is all I got to say.
I was there sitting next to Tony Bacala when he launched the site that first night.
Running a bullet.
Nice.
Trans fandom, and I don't even get that reference.
Wait, is that how it's pronounced?
It was in the boards.
Yeah.
Well, it was on the boards.
Well, some people say Bacala, but it's Tony Bacala.
I thought it was Bacala.
It's you could say it however you want. But yeah, Tony and I go way back, and I was sitting right next to him the night he split from Trans Fandom, and it was the 2005 boards, and then that evolved into what we got now.
I barely remember TFW 2005 before Trans Fandom. Had the main page, had the beats and media and all that on, the different remixes and things.
Yeah, that was also run by a guy named Rick. I think he's dead now.
Some history. Really?
I think so.
Wow.
I mean, that's what the internet says.
If it's on the internet, it must be true.
Absolutely.
And well, who can forget the Orson? And I'm not talking about the Captured Prey. Orson. Orson's World.
I just spoke to that guy today.
Oh.
How's he doing, by the way?
Oh, he's doing good. He's busy. He's got 2 kids now, and he's busy with Littlest Pet Shops over at the Big H. So.
Yeah, I heard he got hired back on over there.
Well, he's a consultant. He didn't get hired back on. He's just he's an intern.
Like a freelancer?
A freelancer, yeah. He's an hourly guy, So they don't have to. They sometimes they let a lot of people go, and then they try to get them back, but they pay them hourly, so they don't have to pay their benefits or anything like that. And kind of a dick move, but I mean that's corporate America everywhere you go, fortunately.
Well, I've actually.
Go ahead.
I've actually seen that at my workplace. We had drivers, and then they let them go, and then bring them back a few months later as temporary drivers or fill-ins, and they don't get benefits, they don't get full pay. It's like, why would you even agree to do that? But I'm sure working at Hasbro is totally different than that. But Well, no, I mean,
Yeah,
what I'm
maybe
saying, no, what I'm saying is that in my workplace, I don't know why you would do that.
No,
Well,
But
just remember, there's not a whole lot of toy companies out in Rhode Island where you can just go and apply to.
no,
So,
toy companies in general, I mean,
yeah,
unless
I mean, I got Lego, 20 minutes down the street from me.
I thought they were in Europe.
Well, their U.S. headquarters is right here.
I see.
it's like the Lego embassy.
Lego embassy?
Like the U.S. embassy in Europe, be the Lego embassy in the U.S.
We need a Creo embassy.
is Creo even around still?
It's in China.
It is.
It's on life support.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before that goes away and they finally license it out to Lego.
From my understanding, it's actually doing well in other countries. Just the retailers in the U.S. want to carry it.
Right.
Well, anyway, we're here to talk Transformers.
We are?
That's why we're called Transformers, for your listening pleasure. And there was a question posed today. Let me pull it up on the Facebook group here. I asked several hours ago, what do you want us to talk about on TFYLP? And there were several really good suggestions and a couple crappy ones. Namely, let's talk about female Transformers. It's like, okay, that's a good topic if you want filler.
Okay,
but,
Don.
Yeah. It's like, well, let's just have Don on and let him talk about RC for an hour and a half and call it good. But no, I mean,
can we just expect him to say that's the #1 figure for our next week's show? Should we bet on this?
Yes.
Should we just bet on this?
I think a betting man would. It'd be like betting on American Pharaoh. It's like.
It's like an easy bet to win.
Yeah, but one of the suggestions was brought up by listener James Gaultier. Says today for the first time I realized there's such a thing as a new fan. Someone who may have jumped on to the fandom after Revenge of the Fallen, or any of the live-action movies for that matter, or Armada, what have you. The topic should be what toy gems throughout the entire series of toys that you think every fan should experience. From G2 Laser Optimus, which is a great example of
the Scourge version.
I don't know. Laser Prime's pretty awesome.
No electronics.
It looks better in the black though.
Yeah, it does look great,
It does. But you need the Japanese version. Yeah, the Scourge.
That Don just tweeted. He says, that was 1, not me, and 2, you'll be surprised by my toy of the year, and it's not RC.
No, it's DX9 Carry.
Yeah, Don, you can't choose Carrie. You can't choose Kronos.
Well, you can choose Kronos for worst figure of the year.
Yeah, Caca Toys of the Year, yeah. But anyway, continue with James Gaultier. He said G2 Laser Optimus or Beast Wars Neo Galvatron, Masterpiece Sideswipe, Armada Unicron. What are some figures from Generation 1 all the way to right now?
Well,
let's go through and say, what?
Should we take it by generation? Like, hey, Generation 1, what are your go-to figures for that line for everyone to play with?
That is a good way to do that, and I think we'll get to that. But let's kind of preface this by defining what is a new fan. And if you're listening or watching to the show, you could be defined as a new fan. Were you a fan back in the day, back in the 80s or 90s? And then, like many of us, like me, I grew up, I got out of toys. Hey, boobs or toys? Boobs or toys? And I chose boobs. And yeah.
Get some toy boob.
No,
if
not
you
RC.
wait long enough,
And the podcast goes quiet.
Yes.
If you wait long enough, they will transform.
Yes. But I eventually came back. I came to my senses. I realized, hey, I can have boobs and toys. And yeah, I got back into toys back in the late 90s, early 2000s, toward the end of Beast Machines or Beast Wars and beginning of Beast Machines. And I've been in the hobby ever since as an adult collector. So I think the best definition of what we're looking at right now, who we're talking to, are the fans that came on as adults, either coming back to the fandom or saw the live-action movies and said, hey, that's awesome. I wouldn't mind having an action figure of Revenge of the Fallen Prime. I want that toy. So
are we at the point in our lives where we say, okay, if Beast Wars got you back into Transformers, you're an old fan already, or if like the Unicron trilogy got you into Transformers, you're an old fan already.
I would make the 07 movie.
Yeah,
I would make the 07 movie that breaking point. Somebody who didn't give a flip about Transformers before then would be a new fan.
Yeah.
Like my nephew, for example. He watched Beast Wars as a kid. I gave him some DVDs to my sister to let the kids watch for a little. They watched it, but it was just another cartoon. They didn't really get into it. It wasn't until the 07 movie that he became a fan and started going out and buying toys. And that's primarily what he collects, are movie toys. So to me, he would be a new fan because his knowledge of anything prior to the 07 movie is minimal. I mean, he's the kind of person, hey, I recommend getting this toy from this line because it was really good and that's something you missed because you weren't a fan at the time.
And I would say just because the movies got you into it, a new fan doesn't mean you necessarily just collect movie toys.
No.
It could be anything.
Well, yeah, he collects Combiner Wars. He loves Combiner Wars.
I think that's the whole point of this episode is if you're getting into collecting or you're kind of on again, off again, you look around and there's over 30 years of Transformers and 30 years worth of toys. There's so much out there. What's crap and what's not? Do I want to go out and get an Armada Laserbeak or and get it and go, oh, this thing's a disappointment? Or do I want to go get a Masterpiece Ultra Magnus and say, oh, wow, this thing's expensive, but it's awesome? There's also another new type of fan that's out there, but not necessarily the type that I would think actually listens to this show, although I'm sure there are some out there, and hello to you if you are. And you're a young fan, and maybe the new RID figures or cartoon, these guys.
The Rid.
Yeah, the new Rid. Maybe they're what got you into the fandom. Something caught your eye recently and is really alluring you to this hobby. And what keeps grown men in their 40s and like Don and Brett up into their 50s and 60s. What keeps grown men coming back and playing with toys and yes, Don, we will get to Fire Convoy and JRX, yes. What keeps grown men coming back to these toys and wanting them and why do we spend large portions of our paycheck on toys that we might fiddle with a few times and put on a shelf? Well, they're a little bit more than that to us. The reasons are varied. We won't go into that because there's just so many reasons why people collect. We've touched on them on previous episodes. Go back to our previous library on tftalk.net and check out previous episodes and see what we've talked about on that. If you're listening to us live or on pre-recorded, you can follow us on Twitter at TFYLP, and we're also watching the Facebook group for any questions that you may have while we're live. If you want to ask or comment on stuff, kind of watching on here, so you might get mentioned on air. We generally get a lot of good regulars on here, and we love hearing from you all the time. So as we go into this topic, feel free to tell us your thoughts, and who knows, it may even make us realize something we forgot about. But let's start with Generation 1. You're a new fan, and you want to go back to Generation 1, and you want to get... Let's limit ourselves to 2 or 3 figures from each line. And I'm sure we're not going to cover every single Transformer line because, I don't know if we'll have time for that. We might. It all depends on what we get to. Rick, if you were talking to a new fan, he says, I want to go back and get a Generation 1, 3 Generation 1 toys that I just have to have. What were they? What are they, in your opinion?
I would tell my daughter that she needs to get a Fortress Maximus, of course. It's the biggest toy. It's fun to play with. It's a base for other toys. I can't tell you how many hours of my life I've wasted just playing with my mini bots and my Micromasters all over Fort Max, and how awesome that was. Even my G.I. Joes would attack him, and I used to play with Fortress Maximus as the Sulaco from Aliens, and my G.I. Joes were the Colonial Marines. And the little side door that opens up that goes to the elevator in Fort Max, that would be the drop hatch where the ship would come down, the drop ship, and they'd go down to the planet. So I think when you put your imagination to it, Fort Max is one of my favorite G1 toys. And I gotta say, the original Optimus Prime. The original Optimus Prime is such a classic toy.
Iconic.
It's the definitive
iconic
character. The story of the Transformers has really become, in the last few years, the story of Optimus Prime. And no matter what happens, no matter where we go in the canon, Optimus will always be a part of that. And that first Optimus Prime toy is, it's fun, it's a good size, and That's what iconic.
She said. That is what she said too.
And
it's
can
fun,
we do mentions, honorable mentions of figures to stay away from?
Well, you've only mentioned 2 of your 3 so far.
Right.
Yeah.
You got one more.
Well, I'm going to use my third one to say please stay away from. It's kind of a mix between jump starters or G1 Wheelie. I don't know.
Why does nobody like Wheelie? I love Wheelie. I love Wheelie.
As a kid, I liked the Wheelie toy. I didn't hate it. I liked the character in the cartoon.
I even like the fact that you could just like take the little canopy that goes over his face and kind of flip it half up, and he'd still have little bill, even though it was like oversized.
I always took him to test.
In the toy bin, I could never find that little fin thing, that canopy. So I'd have to take all the toys out just so I can find that one part so I can play with my wheel.
I would always pop it off and turn it around and snap it back on backwards. That way it didn't stick out.
And that's what she said.
Ah.
But
and jump starters were fun to play with. As a kid, I loved my twin.
Sure.
Pull him back, he could zip across the table and
jump starters were something I never had as a kid. I saw them on the shelf, and I'm like, they look neat, but if I didn't see them in the cartoon or the comic book, they really didn't have a whole lot of appeal to me.
My grandfather bought mine. He knew like Transformers. He just picked them off the shelf. It was a gift from my grandpa.
If I got a non-show character, it was usually as a gift.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, especially for me, if there's story involved, be it comics or television, it elevates the toy to a new level. So for me, even though I do like Topspin and Twin Twist and Last Stand on the Records, it just those original toys, man, are just they just don't fit in.
Twin Twist sucks.
Well, the thing is that I'm sitting here playing with my toys on my desk right now as it is, and it's
who isn't?
Yeah, but
I'm not going to tell you what I'm seeing right now. Shame. Poor shame.
Sodomy.
And I was doing some bad things with my laser beak.
But you know, I agree with you, Rick. Fort Max definitely. Because I mean, he's got the headmaster gimmick. You know, he's got smaller figures that come with the large figures. Yeah. Plus, he's the biggest one of them all. He's got the weight, and there's something can be said that whenever you're transforming the sucker, I mean, he doesn't just go click, 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 click. He goes clunk, 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 and it's just every time I mess with that toy, if I get it out of my shelf, I know I look like this giant kid sitting there playing with my toy. It brings the kid out in you.
I even turned the styrofoam packaging. I took the styrofoam packaging that Fort Max came into, and I used a pen. I went in and I drew computer panels, and it became my Thundercat ship. And that was my cat's lair when I was a kid.
You know, Shockwave, his styrofoam insert was a spaceship for me too. I didn't draw in it, but I cut little holes out in like doors and everything. And yeah, it was children's imagination.
Yeah, I used to take all the styrofoam from toys, and they would all be like ships and bases and stuff.
I actually have a prime example of the sort of thing you guys are talking about. Not styrofoam, but I actually still have, and I don't know how it survived my house fire in '89. I have the card back for my original Grand Slam and Rain Dance, and it has I must have been kindergarten or first grade, in blue crayon, my crudely drawn Autobot symbols all over the stupid thing.
That's awesome.
But and I also agree with you on the on Optimus Prime, the most iconic character in Transformers lore. If you can show a picture of Optimus Prime to anyone in the general public, and I would say 99% of the time they will identify that as Optimus.
It's a Megazord.
Yeah. It's kind of like Batman and Godzilla. You can go anywhere in the world and you show someone a Batman figure or a Godzilla figure, and they'll know what it's from. And it's kind of the same thing with Optimus Prime.
And it is. I mean, you might be able to show a Bumblebee to a non-fan that is just out on the street, and they may say, oh, that's a Transformer. I don't know who it is. But Optimus Prime, he's the big red truck. And
he's the truck?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not monkey. Truck, not monkey.
Iconically, he is a truck. I don't care what generation he's from. He's a truck, not a monkey.
That's right, because the monkey is technically Optimus Primal, a different character.
Yes.
Precisely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even
though there's some design cues, and if you keep hearing a bump, it's my chair hitting the thing because I got to scoot over because of this plug here. But
they're cousins. That's why they're so similar. Kind of the same DNA, so they look similar.
Yeah, kind of like that. But
you mean cyber CNA, cyber NA, cyber nucleic acid?
Yeah. My third pick of a Generation 1 toy that you must have is actually kind of a cheat. It's actually 6. And that would have to be Devastator. Another one that you could probably show. I don't think Devastator would rate as high as Optimus Prime up in the top 90 percentile of people recognizing that as Optimus Prime. Although I do think that a good 60 to 80% of this country could identify Devastator. May not be able to know him, but those are the green construction Transformers. I know those guys.
Or Voltron.
It's a Megazord.
Well, if you're 1990s or newer, then yeah, you probably would say Megazord. But if you're older and if you grew up during the 80s, yeah, Megazords is not necessarily in your vocabulary as a go-to answer. I would venture to say. Greg, what would you say? Your top 3 Generation 1.
I don't disagree with your Fort Max. I have actually recommended him to my nephew, who is the new fan.
And you can get a reissue for a good price right now.
However, that's not in my top 3. Because I'm thinking if it's a new fan and you want to get them, suggest some G1. Okay, I am going to agree with you on the Optimus Prime just because of the iconicness that G1 Optimus Prime. As much as I love the Power Master version, and it's got a sentimental place in my heart, and I think it's a great toy to actually play with, it didn't make the top 3 either. I think for number 2 and 3, I'm going to say Megatron, just because he's also iconic as the rival to Optimus Prime, and it's the only one that's ever a gun besides the classic one, which is kind of a Nerf gun. But if you're going to get a G1 toy, I think just for the fact of the iconicness of it turns into a freaking realistic gun, Megatron needs to be on that list. If you're an adult collector and you want a G1 toy, I think Megatron needs to be on that list. And the third one I would recommend, just because of the iconic play pattern. This is another one that general person on the street, they may not remember the name. They may call him like Sound Tape or Tape Deck Dude, but a Soundwave, just because the gimmick with the cassettes going in the chest. That was an iconic thing where you always launch those guys out. So, and it's a fun toy. So if you're recommending, if you're only going to get 3 G1s, you got your iconic Optimus Prime, the Megatron who's a gun, and the Soundwave with the tapes out the chest. I think those would be my top 3 recommendations to a new
Well, and the thing is that Soundwave, even among the fandom, Soundwave has his little cult following. That former member of the show, Suede 66, he is a huge Soundwave nut. And I know
Most of the tapes. You love tapes.
Yeah, and the tapes. There's people that collect nothing but tapes, and they go out and find these cheap knockoff tapes and customize them into new characters or obscure characters. And I'm like, wow, that is way too much tape love for me. But I do love the cassettes. I agree with you. Soundwave is a great pick. What about you, Jim?
Well, as far as Generation 1, I was in kind of an interesting position in that I was born in '83. And so a lot of the things I had were either from my older brother, who was a product of '77, or just some of the older or the later releases like Power Masters and all that. Plus, I wasn't necessarily from the richest family, so I didn't really have too much to go from. But some of the ones that really stand out for me, one would be like the Grand Slam, Rain Dance, Squawk Talk, Beast Box, the cassette combiners. In that they're just neat figures. You have a cassette tape, and it can turn into a monkey, a bird. A tank and a jet. You have the different weapon combinations because they can plug into one another. Not to mention they can combine into their own robot mode. So I mean, they just have just the kind of the strange yet neat play value to them because of that. And it really I think helps with using the imagination in that they're so out of the ordinary from like your standard Blue Streak or Dirge or what have you. But Squawk Talk and Beast Box were actually my very first Transformers that I bought as a kid from Kmart. Another one that comes to mind, even though you guys already mentioned the original '84 Optimus Prime, I actually have to go with the 1988 Power Master Optimus Prime. Because you have the trailer that turns into the base, you have the Nebulon High Q that becomes the engine and can interact with the large gray cannons and kind of ride them like miniature vehicles. You have the Optimus Prime Cab, which in robot mode is, out of all Generation 1, the most cartoon accurate out of between Action Master and '84 and all that. Looks the closest to the cartoon. You have 4 huge guns. It was just a really neat figure. You have the large combined form, which was I think it towered over Devastator, didn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was a little taller. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was quite as big as Predaking, but it was one of the larger G1 figures in its combined form. And that in itself was just awesome. I mean, who doesn't love a huge robot?
And you know what? It was also at a time where you really couldn't get Optimus Prime, but everyone knew him from reruns or from comic books. So that toy kind of came out at the right time too.
Right. Just actually, it wasn't too long after Optimus had actually come back in the ending chapters of the G1 cartoon. The Return of Optimus Prime and the Rebirth. So I think that helped a lot with it too. I think the last one, honestly, would probably have to be, even though we just kind of knocked them a little bit, the Jump Starters. They're simplistic in their transformation. They have crap for articulation, but you pull them back and they jump up and transform on their own, and they're just neat. I had a top spin as a kid, and it went down many flights of stairs. It went down a heat vent a couple times. The really old house with the holes in the grate were huge, so it actually went down the heat vent. But yeah, it was just a fun toy until it exploded into a million pieces. But that's beside the point. Jump Starters are awesome.
Yes, Jump Starters, really?
All right.
Well, I was rough on my toys. I was really rough on my toys.
Nobody said Pretenders. Wow. That's another thinking joke right there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and something to bring away from this is that we're kind of looking at it from price is no object type point of view, but we understand, there are fans of all walks of life, so getting some of these toys is just not within the budget of some people. But if somebody's like, I've got to go back and get 3 Transformers from a particular line, what should I get? What do I need to save up and get?
Most of the ones we mentioned have been reissued.
Yes.
So there are lesser expensive options if you want to get a newer reissue.
Except for the jump starters, and you can probably get those for about $1 from Mega Toy Fan, one of our sponsors. Mega Toy Fan, you can maximize your collection while minimizing your costs with Mega Toy Fan if you buy vintage toys from him, which he sells them at conventions, like BotCon, TFCon.
Did we ever share the story on here about the SlagaCon we were at where he had the whole bag of jump starters? There'd be like 20 in there. He was going to sell me the whole bag for like $4.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't take it because I was trying to chew him down to 3.
Yeah. And you just totally offended everyone who listens to our podcast and is Jewish. Thank you, asshole.
I said chew. I said chew, not Jew.
It didn't sound that way.
I said chew. I tried to chew him down.
I do apologize.
I said chew him down.
Yes. Anyway.
I thought he said chew him down, too.
I did say chew.
And I thought, I think you did.
I don't think that's a colloquial term, but hey,
that's the way
we'll leave it at that. But anyway, yeah, that is a great story. And check out Mega Toy Fan at your most popular conventions year-round where toys are known to be found. Mega Toy Fan, maximize your collection while minimizing your costs. And we also have another sponsor. If you're into newer stuff or even third-party stuff, and I'm sure we'll list a couple third-party items here before we're done. You can find them at CapturePrey.com. Great toys, great prices, great service. CapturePrey.com, where you can save even more with the Capture Prey loyalty program, and also on orders of $150 or more, you can get free shipping. So check out CapturePrey.com. Great toys, great prices, great service. Generation 2. I'm surprised that Plasticon hasn't automatically popped on right now because we said those magic words, Generation and 2.
Well, no, it's like Beetlejuice. You got to say it 3 times before he'll appear.
So all I need to say is G.
No.
Okay. One more time. Yeah, and I believe Jim has a bot there. Since you've got one held up, Jim, you want to tell us your top 3 picks from Generation 2?
Top 3 for Generation 2. Okay, we're in an area where I was closer to 10 and 12 years old and all, so I was a little more able to enjoy the toys during that period. Probably one of the best ones that I can think of right off the top of my head, I actually didn't get until I was quite a bit older, which is probably going to be the number 1 Generation 2 toy for a lot of people, is the Laser Rod Optimus Prime. For its time, it was an exemplary figure. Articulation was just out of the ballpark, probably one of the best representations of Optimus Prime up to that point.
I've got to interject. The G2 Laser Prime, I would venture to say still today holds its allure. I mean, it has aged well.
Yeah, you say for its time. I think it's still a good toy.
It is still a great toy.
You could compare it to any toy. You could get Combiner Wars Leader Megatron, and I think Laser Prime, as far as like articulation and everything, is right there with it.
Yeah,
it's as good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I totally agree with you. And listener James Galtier, as we started out the show, he listed his G2 Laser Prime, and that to me is number 1 on the list. Whenever I think of Generation 2, that is the quintessential G2 toy, in my opinion. There's another one. I'll get to it when I get to my list. But go on, finish up.
Definitely a fantastic toy. Another one, which some of these figures tend not to, I guess, age too well due to, atmospheric conditions or temperature or what have you, play wear.
Crappy plastic.
But the but the Generation 2 color changers. I'm talking about like Deluge and what were some of the others?
Grinch.
Grinch, GoBots. Not the mighty GoBots, just GoBots. But I myself had Deluge, the F1 Racer, as a kid, simply because, like an idiot, I was thinking it was Mirage. I didn't bother to look at the name or the fact it was a Decepticon, but it was still an outstanding figure. Really, for its size and for that time period, it had a pretty complex transformation. I mean, you had to like flip the torso part with the shoulders around like 180 degrees and then rotate the upper torso. And I don't know how many times I had to start transforming it and start over because I forgot what I was doing. Of course, I was used to jump starters back then too. But had the weapons that came with it, they would either be like the spoiler or some other accessory that would attach to the car that would also be the gun, and it would have this little like hot pink plunger on the back of this yellow accessory that would hold the water. You could just fill it with water and you could squirt it at the other figures. And there was a part, usually I think it was the chest mostly, that would actually change color depending on the temperature of the water that it came into contact with. And that would help. I think didn't it reveal the allegiance, the insignia, when you did that?
I think one or two of them did.
I think
is there any? If you had to pick any of the color changers, which one would you choose?
Well, Deluge, naturally, because that's the one I had as a kid. But I've had a couple others since then, so really that whole subline I think is pretty well stellar for what it is. And then lastly, I have to go with Generation 2 Devastator. That being different than G1 Devastator because there were several parts remolded, and it is yellow in coloration, so it looks more realistic than like lime green. I don't see too many lime green construction vehicles.
It was just the faces that were remolded, right?
No, I don't believe any of the faces were remolded, but the launching mechanisms were removed from the forearms for Devastator. As a result, the missiles were remolded to remove that little tab in the back. Mixmaster could no longer launch his missile. There were a couple other things, I think. I can't remember now, but that was actually one that my brother and I worked on getting completed as kids. He had the lower three, and I had the upper half. But it's just fun because you have the full set of 6 figures, and yet you can combine them all into one large character. Of course, I guess you'd have that same play experience with pretty much any combiner, but out of G2, I honestly like it better than like Superion and Bruticus. Yeah. I don't know why.
Now, if I had to choose, I mean, now we've already said G2 Laser Prime. He's the number one for in my opinion. Number 2 is actually an older figure brought back in different colors, and this is a hallmark of Generation 2, those wild and crazy colors. But I've got to go with the Dudicus, the big battling Bruticus. I've got to go with G2 Bruticus as a must-have from Generation 2. Those funky colors, the Fruitopia of colors that is G2 Bruticus. I just love that toy.
Of course.
And number three is a favorite of mine. I actually have 3 of them. I have the European version one. I have the U.S. version one, and both of those are carded. And I have one loose. That tells you how much I love this toy. And he's a tiny little guy, and you're like, that guy? Really? Yes. And it's simply because his name really jumped out to me, and I'm like, yeah, Windbreaker. The Transformer that is named after a fart. Hey.
Or a light jacket.
In the tradition of Erector.
Yes. In Europe he was called Zap, but here we called him Windbreaker. We have a tendency to fart on things around here, so there you go.
Told you beans at the beginning of the show.
But yeah, Windbreaker. He's a neat little toy. He's a accelerator. Basically, the engine kind of pops out of the the engine slot and becomes the gun for the robot. And he's got a nifty, neat little transformation. And, you know, I've got to go with any of the accelerators are kind of cool. But I think it's what's great about G2. You got the flashy colors. He's like a bright orange. I know some of the other ones. There's a teal one. There's a jet black one. You know, and then you had Rapido, who is like a bright red.
I had that one.
And he barely could peer over his hood. I mean, it's like you transform him correctly, and his head is just like he's like peering pervertly over his hood. Like I'm watching you.
He needs a chest reduction.
Yeah.
I always thought there was something wrong with mine when I was a kid, because like,
it's like
he can't look over his boobs.
It's like he was like peeping Tomming or something. He's like, I'm watching you.
Funny story.
Yeah.
Funny story about that. I had Rapido as a kid. It was among my first G2 figures. And me and my childhood imagination, I always used to figure that his chest wasn't so much a chest as much as it was just like giant like binoculars. He was just looking out of his headlights. I don't know.
But the accelerators, they're a great little line. But me particularly, I suggest Windbreaker. Great name and great little toy. Those are my picks. What about you, Greg?
Well, I'm going to mirror you guys with number one being the Laser Prime. We've already talked about it enough, but that's my number one pick. Number two, I'm going to go with the Megatron, the big green tank, just because it's got the electronics. He says Megatron rules. I got a big Megatron rules sticker on there. Because I like to think of it as like Megatron, being such the megalomaniac that he is, was all like, you know, I rule. And I'm going to make sure everybody knows it. So he got a big Megatron rules tattoo on his chest.
Yeah,
you know.
but the thing with Generation 2 toys typically had it had the faction insignia, and then it said Decepticon or Autobot out from it sometimes. And it's like, aren't these supposed to be robots in disguise? How can you advertise what you are?
Optimus Prime wore his name on his chest. Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
He had a picture of himself painted on his trailer.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's another great thing about G2 Laser Prime is what other toy are you going to see with Optimus Prime setting fire to a forest on the side of the trailer? You know, I mean, that if they ever do a new G2 Laser Prime with the trailer, he has to be setting fire to a forest on his trailer.
Better yet, they can just package him in with a forest and have you to set fire to it.
Yeah. So the Pyromaniac Autobot.
Okay, so for my third choice, and this is predicated on the fact that I'm referencing this to the same you're recommending these to the same person, because if they didn't pick up the G1 version, if they wanted more than 3 and they got the G1, then I'd probably give them something else. But if they didn't, then for the third choice, I would say Grimlock. Just
which color?
Take your pick.
Yeah, the rare turquoise one.
Yeah, or the blue. The blue is fine. Or if you go with the gray, like the G1 colored version, right?
I like the unreleased tiger striped one. That one was kind of pretty.
My reason for recommending it is just because the Dinobots are also iconic, and so you need a Dinobot toy of the original mold. And if we're only doing 3 from each line, since I didn't recommend it in G1, then get the G2 version. You can even get into the G1 colors.
Well, kind of some foreshadowing and everything. There is going to be a Dinobot in my picks and everything, but I think that's going to be more toward when we start talking about Masterpiece.
Right.
But how about you, Rick? What about your top 3 G2 picks?
We've named a lot of great figures from G2, and the thing about G2 for me was I finally had a chance to own a bunch of toys that I always wanted as a kid but never had, like Jazz, Inferno, Sideswipe,
awesome.
Grimlock, Ramjet. There was a lot of toys in G2 that I never had as a kid. But there is one G2 toy that stands out to me as a moment in time where the brand started shifting to a new direction, and it's because of its ball joints and its new spring-loaded missiles and the new missile system it had, and that's the smoke screen Dreadwing 2-pack. So you had 2 Transformers in one, which was awesome. It was like triple changer or quadruple changer. You had this smoke screen that turned into a little jet. You combine with the big guy, they'd become a bigger jet, or the big guy would turn into a tank, and he had they had these brand new types of joints, which I never had before in a Transformer. And it was one of my favorite toys as a kid during G2 because I could pose the hell out of them.
Yeah, now that's a great thing about Generation 2 is that there was a lot of things that we take for granted as commonplace in today's modern Transformers that first appeared in a regular sense in Generation 2. Light piping eyes or weapons. You got ball joints, commonplace, late in G2. What were some other things? Well, general posability. You know, I mean, outside of stiff elbows and stiff legs. I mean, you got some Laser Prime. I mean, he had a full range. I mean, he couldn't look up and down, but aside from that, he was very, very posable.
He could look down, kind of. Have a weird neck.
Yeah, if you angle the whole body down, but
well, the neck hinge is strange looking, but he could do it.
Yeah. That's cheating, but yeah.
It's a stretch.
Don did you list all three, Rick? I'm sorry.
Well, a lot of mine.
Got off on a tangent.
Laser Prime. I love G2 Color, so Bruticus is. Swindle is one of my favorite G2 toys as a kid because it was the only one I had from that sub team.
Who doesn't love Swindle?
Megatron, the green tank Megatron, that was awesome. But you know what? Yeah, that Hero Megatron tank, the purple one. That's another classic.
Eggplant
Megatron one. Yeah, the eggplant for the Beast Wars colored one.
Yeah.
Because of the articulation, and it was Megatron. It was articulated, and he was the scale of another Optimus.
Yeah. Well, Headmaster Don, he's been shooting me some of his favorites, and he likes the Laser Prime, of course, and he also likes G2 Dreadwing, Smoke Jumper, and then you also have Hero Prime is one of his picks, and he is also a fan of the Rotoforce. Anything from the Rotoforce, apparently. So yeah. So now we've dwelt on the first two generations of Transformers. Let's move on to Beast Wars. Let's kind of should we lump these together since it's kind of there's so many Transformers?
Should we each mention one Japanese character?
Let's go to one Japanese character from any generation.
Macross.
And then we'll go to Transformers. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thought you said Macross there for a second. I'm like, no. Not Macross.
No.
No.
Landcross.
I got you, but I heard it. Yeah, let's do Japanese characters, and we'll move on to Beast Wars. Rick, what about a Japanese character for you?
Victory Saber. Boom. Done. It's a giant toy. If you get the gift box, it's a giant box, which is awesome. You get these two huge guys that are like a puzzle that you have to put together. They don't really transform together. They just kind of stack things together. But it was a cool toy. It was big. And I was in my early 20s when I first got my first one. And that was a big moment because that was one of the first Japanese toys I'd ever gotten.
Yeah. I have to say my first Japanese toy that I ever owned that was truly a Japanese only. Well, I mean, I know he had a European release, but the Japanese only release I had was Overlord. And whenever I was in my early 20s and getting back into Transformers, and I'm rediscovering, or discovering for the first time some of these Japanese characters, I'm like, wow, I never knew these existed. Like Japan had like this whole world of toys that that were in addition to what we had, and it just blew my mind. But I'm kind of a closet Godzilla fan. I know there's other members of our cast like Michael Swift. He's a huge Godzilla fan. I like Godzilla. I have a box set. But I love kaiju, and you can't get any more awesome, in my opinion, than the King Kaiju himself, Deathsaurus. I think he is visually amazing and beautiful. He may not be the most phenomenal posable toy of any generation, but the double breastmaster gimmick, the little lion and the eagle, and then he turns from this awesome looking robot, this menacing looking robot, into this gigantic kaiju monster with these big sweeping wings, these big curved sweeping wings, and that chrome head. And he, if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the last Generation 1 toys to actually be released with die-cast metal parts. So that was an original release. So I'm going with Deathsaurus.
Okay, well, while those are all some great choices with Landcross, Deathsaurus, and Victory Saber, remember this list is about what we would recommend to a new fan, and those are all pretty cost prohibitive. And I think just to experience that weird era that kind of Transformers went through across the board, for a Japanese only, I would recommend the Beast Wars 2 Big Convoy. That way you get to experience a shell former, and it's one of the most awesome shell formers, and it's still,
it's a very viable toy today.
Yeah, because it's also not unreasonably expensive to get. Much easier than the other 3 recommendations. So partly for price, but also because hey, everybody needs to experience that toy at least once. The frustration of trying to puzzle piece the elephant together around the folded up robot.
You can get a Korean version of Big Convoy for around $60, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not that expensive. So yeah, I would go with Big Convoy as a good choice.
Yeah, that's my choice.
Well, even for that matter, if you want to really go cheap, there's some great small Japanese-only characters. Stampy, you got Stampy. Stampy.
Long Rack.
Yeah, Long Rack. Some of those guys. Pine Lad. I mean, Transformer that in his alt mode has a giant nutsack. It's like yeah. So I mean, you can't get much more awesome than that. So yeah, Ultra Mammoth as Headmaster Don says, best name ever. What about you, Jim? If you were to pick out a Japanese-only character or toy,
he said Landcross, didn't he?
Yeah, I was gonna say Landcross. I had the vintage mock tackle just a few years ago, but I also had the reissue from 2004 of the full Landcross set. And as far as Landcross goes, I mean, you could try to afford the vintage if you want, but the reissue is pretty well spot on where that's concerned. Very, very few changes, mostly switching from the stickers to painted on details being really the main changes. That and a little bit of a change of deco to the faces. But you've got 6 vehicles, and between the different configurations, you have the configurations in standard vehicle mode, the attack vehicle mode, individual robot modes, the different combinations of top half, bottom half combinations between.
Didn't they do like Energon?
That actually predates Energon. That's what a lot of Energon Autobots were based on, was that style of combination, shirt and pants. And between those different, overall, when you factor in all the possible variations and combinations, has 73 different alternate configurations. If you go by the little chart on the box. And that's including if you have a duplicate of like 2 waivers or 2 tackles, 73 different possibilities out of 6 figures. That in itself, for no more than they cost, is definitely well worth it. Not to mention, according to the profile, they're like the Captain Planet of Transformers, I guess. I don't know. Who doesn't love Captain Planet?
He's a hero. He's going to take pollution down to 0.
I saw somebody point out on Facebook that if you notice that the kids in Captain Planet kind of coincide with, as far as like gender and race, with the kids on the Magic School Bus. So you said the kids on the Magic School Bus grew up to be the kids on Captain Planet.
I never watched that show, so
they have to be the same kids.
But anyway, Beast Wars, I'd say the turning point in the Transformers franchise. I mean, Generation 2, we look back on it through rose-colored glasses, but let's be honest, it nearly killed the franchise. toward the end. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of innovation, but the popularity of Transformers really started dipping down, and then came Beast Wars.
Well, I think it was less that G2 killed it so much as
I'm not saying that it killed it, but I mean it was.
It failed to revive it. I think it had already died before that.
Well, there were a lot of weird and varying different toys and things that it was trying to compete with too. I mean, consider at that same time there was a toy line that was called War Planets, and you had planets that did weird things. I mean, that's weird.
Well, I mean, I think the whole reason behind Generation 2 and the wacky, weird colors is just so they'd stand out on the toy aisle. Look how bright and colorful we are. A kid walks down the aisle, and you're looking at a bunch of red and yellow, red and browns and blacks and everything. Then you got these vibrant neon colors.
Green,
leaping out at you with these and something that Transformers has always been known for is there's been years when the packaging has been less than stellar, but Transformers have almost always had fantastic package art and packaging, eye-catching packages. And G2 was not an exception.
We'll go back and watch Saved by the Bell. Those were the colors people were wearing in their clothes back then too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
it was the South Florida era.
Yeah. I lived down there then.
I lived in Miami during G2, so it was just like, these are the Transformers of Miami.
I was 80 miles away from you in the Everglades, so small world.
So Beast Wars.
Yeah, Beast Wars. Well, since you brought it up, you go first.
Oh, wow. I hadn't really had time to think about it. Okay.
No, well, you brought it up.
Well, I'm going to recommend, because it's my... Well, I'll just segueing back. You brought it up, and then I distracted us.
Yes.
I would have to say my favorite Beast Wars toy, which I would recommend, Optimal Optimus as number one. For me, it was because he went back to being the most mechanical, because I was still kind of that truck, not monkey mindset. But it is just legitimately a good toy. He's a quadruple changer. He has a jet mode, an armored tank mode, a robot mode, and a monkey mode. So there's a lot of play value with that toy, especially like the way you the little gimmick on the back. You pull on the back, and the lights will come on, which shine up through, make his eyes glow. And you pull a little further than the missiles launch. Because it's really easy if you didn't know there were two stages to that to try to look in his eyes and shoot yourself in the face. So that was a fun toy. Number for the second one. You can tell I'm not really a huge fan of Beast Wars. I mean, I like the show good. I had all the toys at one point.
Shame on you.
Them. I have to say the next toy that I had the most fun playing with would have to be the original Optimus Primal mold with the black monkey. Even though the transformation was relatively simple, the legs stayed the legs, the arms stayed the arms. It was just a lot of fun to transform back and forth, and it was surprisingly the visuals changed quite a bit from one mode to the other.
You wouldn't think it would, just basically flipping a monkey upside down.
Well, didn't he flip him upside down? The legs stayed the legs. Watching the cartoon, he did so little movement, you're like, oh, that's not even hardly a transformer. But then you get the actual toy, and you start flipping all these panels and bits and moving things, and it was pretty impressive in hand.
Well, Optimus Minor was definitely, you flip the monkey upside down there, you got a robot.
Yeah, that was. Well, that's what he was. Optimus Primal for Beast Machines was like that, too, he upside down. So that would be my second pick, is the first Optimus Primal. And for the third toy, I would say the original purple Megatron. Because it's iconic, and just with the T-Rex head on his hand. If I'm not mistaken, he had the water squirt feature in the tongue, too, so you can squirt water in his mouth.
Absolutely.
So those are my three picks for Beast Wars.
Well, I'm a huge Beast Wars fan. It's still today my favorite Transformers TV show of all time. I've got the Predacon symbol tattooed on me. If I had to say, hey, there's 3 Beast Wars figures you have to own, to meet Cheetor, Deluxe Cheetor was always a favorite of mine. He had the water squirting action as well. You took the gun from the bottom of him.
It had guts on it.
It had guts molded onto it.
Gun, butt gun.
Transmetal Tarantulas. That was the first Transmetal I had seen. It completely blew my mind that Beast Wars had gone from being an organic type of Transformer to now they're going back to being like cars again. There's chrome on it. How cool is that? And keeping in line with Transmetal Rat Trap. Rat Trap's one of the greatest characters in Transformers history, and that was one of the greatest toys. I just wish the toy would have looked a little bit more like the show, where the wheels just kind of flip up to his back. But
that was
Transmetal Rat Trap, yes.
That was one of the first toys I bought as an adult. I wasn't really a collector yet, but when I got back into Transformers, I was watching the cartoons with my daughter in the evening, because my wife worked second shift. And the Beast Wars cartoon just came on. We were watching Fox, and so I was watching, I was really digging it, and I was like, I had to go buy a toy for my daughter, and it was we went to the Walmart, and that was the first thing we got was the Transmetal Rat Trap.
Jim, what about you? What about your three?
Well, out of Beast Wars, I would have to say number one would be one of the first Beast Wars figures from '96, Polar Claw. It was just an outstanding figure. Amazing articulation.
I actually have one. Yeah.
Yes, one of my favorites. It was one of them that had the alternate mutant head. You just kind of flip it around. Some of them, had to flip around the head or have a mask over the face or what have you. But this one actually had two different heads. You just flip the inner torso around, if I recall. Or no, you rotate the head. I think that's what it was. Anyway.
Yeah, it was just the back of the head.
Yeah, I was thinking of someone else. Anyway, but you had the fact that it was a huge freaking polar bear. Who doesn't love that? Had the launching bone claw out of the one arm, and the other arm could launch off and become a bat. So that was a fun gimmick unto itself. But in the robot mode, you just had decent posability. It was a huge figure. I mean, perspective on a monitor, but the thing was like that, pretty big. It's pretty good size. And once you have that bat launched off, that the remains of the arm could be over the shoulder, kind of like a shoulder cannon of sorts. And it was just an outstanding figure. I would say probably one of the best from the original Beast Wars line. Another one. Goodness, Dinobot is an easy favorite. Not too crazy about the fact that the shins and feet end up as the belly of the raptor, but overall, I thought it was a really decent figure, decent transformation. And who doesn't love spinning blades out of a tail? I mean, that was just a cool gimmick. You had the sword hidden inside. Plus the character was just stellar. Trying to think of a good third one. Goodness, I'm probably gonna have to go with Waspinator. Simply because it's Waspinator. You cannot have Beast Wars anything and not have Waspinator involved in some way.
Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
That's random.
I swear I didn't do it.
Are you getting a fax?
No, my printer just came to life all of a sudden. I don't know why.
We're not fun.
I sent him a telegraph.
But if I had to choose, I totally agree with the Optimus Primal and the Megatron T-Rex, but I'm going to choose those three. But I'm going to leave those as already suggested. I'm going to choose three that are totally have not been mentioned yet. Number one, simply for the gimmick, it was it was a fiddle former, like something that you just pick up and everything, and it's this gimmick right here, flip changing. I'm going to go with Terrorsaur. Terrorsaur was a great little toy. Whenever the recent Walmart 2-pack came out with the Strafe and everything, they repainted Terrorsaur as Strafe. And I'm like, I got to get that just simply for the mold.
I was amazed that mold was still around and still viable.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the Beast Wars molds are still around and viable.
That's fantastic.
The only two that I was aware of while I worked at Hasbro that weren't available was Leo Convoy and Beast Wars 2 Galvatron, only because they were misplaced. They were lost.
Wow.
Misplaced.
Now I'm going to go with Pterosaur. My second one, also because he was just so cool. Whenever I finally got one, I'm like, this guy, he's a little fiddly, but I really, really like him. And that is Fusor Quick Strike. I like Quick Strike. The snake head on the tail, and I loved his character on the show. He was great. And thirdly, I would have to go with Beast Wars Scorponok. Great toy, yeah, with the big clamper hands and the
one
bee.
that came off as made a bee, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The antithesis to Polar Claw.
Yeah. Really, really great toy. Now, Headmaster Don is throwing in his 2 cents, and he's saying Optimus Primal, Transmetal Optimus Primal. He's also saying Tigerhawk, great toy. Enormous toy, too. I was shocked. Whenever I first got my Tigerhawk back in the day, whenever I had one, I was amazed how big the toy was. And also Silverbolt is an unusual choice, but yeah.
Bird Dog.
Yep. So Silverbolt. Beast Machines. Rick, what about yours?
Wow, Beast Machines is one of those eras where you look back on the show and it's like, well, now that I've seen Armada and Energon and Cybertron, that show was all right. The toys still, yeah. There's a few toys out there that are gems, but for me, most of them kind of fall flat. I think this is going to be a tough one. I think I'm going to be able to pick one toy, and it's not Night Scream.
It's the one to avoid.
Yeah.
It's because he has a poo hanging from his face, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do 2 basics here. I'm gonna throw the basic tank drone out there as a great toy. It's fun to fiddle with, and because he needs a buddy, your basic thrust, your cycle drone. I'm a troop builder, so I've got tons of these guys.
Thrust.
Just sitting around. So I think those are great fun toys to play with.
In the interest of time, for the remainder of the series that we're going to talk about, let's just pick one toy because we've already spent almost an hour and a half on just 4 generations. So, but go ahead, Rick.
Okay, no, Jim, tagging you in.
Well, right off the bat, you stole my tank drone. That was actually my first Beast Machines figure, and honestly, probably my favorite Beast Machines figure. It was just a really cool-looking figure. I mean, just even though the tank or tank drone head was out in tank mode, it was done in such a way it didn't distract away from the tank, and because of the shape, the kind of the weird, the weird shape of it. You kind of forgot that it was a head. It just kind of blended in with the rest of the tank. It was just really neat. It had the claw hands, the cannon that would kind of rotate as the wheels turned. I mean, it was just fun, really neat looking. I wish we would have gotten that tank drone in a larger scale, as opposed to the large tank or toy that we ended up with.
It'd be great to see a Combiners Wars Beast Machines kit where it's Megatron in the middle, and then you get your tank drone, your jet drone, your cycle drone, Obsidian, and maybe Strikers in the middle, and you have your Viacon Combiner Wars figure.
That would be pretty awesome. What about you? What's your?
You could have Jetstorm as the gun then.
Oh yeah.
What's your pick for Beast Machines?
Or the boots.
Well, I would say for the Beast Machines, I'm going to go ahead and say like the 3 like we started out with, because I would say all 3 of the Viacons, but the larger size, the deluxe size. Thrust, the Voyager size Tankor, and I guess it was a deluxe size Jetstorm. Because I just think the Viacons were the best thing in that line. Well, I like the tank drone, to me, if I was recommending to a new fan, that's kind of underwhelming. It's very simple. If you have no connection to the show because you're a new fan, you just want to experience the toy, it's just going to be this little simplistic. It's like, what's so great about this? Whereas with Tankor, it's a little more involved, the transformation going back and forth, same way with the other two. I think a new fan is going to get a little more better idea of what Beast Machines is about from the full-size versions of those characters.
Yeah. Now, my pick, and this pick has got a caveat. And if you are a new fan, and you're going to go back and you're going to find one of these, finding one with good paint is really, really hard. But to me, it was actually my very first Beast Machines toy, and it really got me excited because I really enjoyed the futuristic look of it, and I am always a sucker for vacuum metallized paint. How good it looks. I just wish that it was better on this particular toy. But I'm going to go with Ultra Jetstorm. It was a phenomenal looking toy, great posability, and if you transformed it with the legs collapsed together, it had some decent show accuracy to it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going with Ultra Jetstorm. I really like that toy and everything. Now for the Unicron trilogy, Armada, Energon, and Cybertron.
Real quick, I just happened to think of one since I kind of took the cheap way out and mentioned Tank Drone again after it was already mentioned. I thought of probably one of my favorites aside from that would be Hammer Strike.
Good one.
One of the lesser known Beast Machines figures.
From Battle for the Spark, yeah.
Yes, it's one of the lesser known ones, but it is just an insane and sick looking figure. It is so fun.
Phenomenal toy.
So yeah.
I have not skipped RID, but I'm going back to that here in a moment. But I'm kind of lumping the Unicron trilogy. All in one. Let's pick one toy from the Unicron trilogy. Jim, what would you pick from the Unicron trilogy?
I'll tell you, as much as I love Energon Prime and Wingsaber and all them, I'm going with Energon Ironhide. The little head sticking out in car mode might be a little ridiculous, and the weird speaker in the back, and I can get past that. But
where is the kick button here?
But ultimately,
Jim,
it's like
the worst one in the whole line.
Well, for keeping the gimmick in mind, the combination of power lancing or whatever you call it, it makes an impressive lower torso and legs combination. And in robot mode, it honestly doesn't look all that bad. You've got the kind of the doors for the shoulders, and it's just he has a little bit of a goofy face, but overall it's a decent figure. But I was always want to parallax and combine the figures together.
Jim, shut up.
All right, so
I'm just saying. if you're gonna get an Energon figure to combine,
just stop.
All right, so I think the Unicron trilogy can be summed up with one character, Unicron. Mm-hmm. Of course, Unicron, the biggest, baddest Transformers villain of them all. You can put a bunch of mini-cons on him. He's huge. He lights up. He's got the right hand of doom. Unicron, easy. You want to know what Armada is about and those two spin-off shows? Gotta get Unicron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My pick would have to be Cybertron, a.k.a. Galaxy Force Optimus Prime. That fire truck with the... he almost had a Gajin Rai look to him with the wings and stuff, but he just was so majestic to me. And actually, in my opinion, and I might catch some flack from this, but out of all the Optimus Prime toys throughout all the years, I'd say he's easily in the top 10 or top 5 of my favorite Optimus Prime toys of all time, and that is saying a lot from that era. I really, really dig that Optimus Prime. I could do without Energon Prime, and I really could do without Super Pants, super shitty Optimus, super base Optimus Prime. I hated that auto transforming trailer. I wanted to throw it against the wall for the moment it. The first gear got out, yeah. Even Headmaster Dawn's in it. Energon Ironhide? Question mark. Yes, Jim. One more time, Jim. Be quiet. Just stop.
That's funny. I just sold my Lucky Draw Galaxy Force Convoy today, right before the show started.
Nice.
It was on eBay. You could have bid.
No money.
I remember when the prototype for that Galaxy Force Cybertron Convoy Optimus first came out, and how the fandom was completely flipping their crap over the faceplate gimmick and how it just kind of flipped up from underneath the jaw there. That was insane.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I was going to say Unicron, but Rick already took that answer, so I'm going to use the opportunity to go with another one. So I've been sitting here running the toys through my head, just whatever pops in. Like, I really like the Armada Scavenger. I know I'll catch flack for that, but I like the stomping gimmick.
He likes it when it pops. He likes it when it just pops in.
Well, I like the stomping gimmick that he does with his feet. I know a lot of people hate that one. And then I was thinking about the Armada Bendy Prime, what a great toy that was, which is a good one. But I got to say, in all honesty, if I were going to recommend one, besides Unicron, it would be the Armada Starscream. It's a big, chunky toy, but it's a lot of fun. You get to experience your Minicon gimmick, and I think it's one of the better-looking ones in both modes. Of course, you have your repaints of Thundercracker and Skywarp to choose from if you want to vary up the colors.
I really dig the Ramjet with that funky fin on its head.
Well, that was Skywarp.
That's right.
Yeah, the Toys R Us did the repaint of Skywarp.
Yeah.
It's Ramjet, didn't they?
Yeah.
He was white and blue. But Starscream would be my pick for that line.
Okay.
But okay, what about Robots in Disguise? I know what a lot of people are going to say for the first one, but you guys, I'm going to leave that one to you guys because I think my pick is probably a little bit different than some of you guys. Rick, what about RID?
Optimus.
Your top.
Optimus
Yes.
Rid. Yep.
Fire Convoy. Absolutely phenomenal toy. A bit of a parts formery, but just
Yeah. Doesn't he also say maximize too?
He does.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's still a great figure. Posability, features wise, it's a great toy.
A great toy. What about you, Greg? I kind of have an idea of which one you're going to go
can
with.
I cheat and just say Omega Prime? That way you get Prime and Magnus both.
Fair enough.
Because I think Optimus was a great toy. If I could only pick one, I would say Ultra Magnus, just because I kind of prefer that. I know it's got the big long shins. People don't like it, but
I like it.
I prefer the truck over the tractor trailer over the fire truck. So I've always liked Magnus a little better than Prime. But really, those two toys are made to go together, and it is one character, one figure when it's all combined.
Absolutely.
So I would say Omega Prime, that way you get the full experience.
And my pick, I would have to go with Rail Racer, Team Bullet Train. I think that is one of the most quintessential combiner toys. And if you're talking about relevancy to today, one of the most quintessential combiner toys and revolutionary, in my opinion, because it took three guys and put them together into one. I know we had Road Seizure, but it did it so well, and the mass shifting aesthetic of it. You got these small trains that were roughly 7 inches long. But about 4. Never.
Somebody comes in the last second. He catches this part. What's he describing?
Yeah. Well, but rather phallic-looking vehicle modes, but they are really accurate for what they are. They're really good-looking toys, and then they become these really decently sized robots, and then even bigger as a combined form. And I like how they expand in places that they need to expand.
They're phallic. They expand.
I'm just going to stop.
This is stuff you said.
And one of them even lights up.
I'm just going to stop and say my pick is Rail Racer. Thank you, Jim. Your RID pick.
While I completely concur with you on Rail Racer, just exceptional, well-designed, amazing figures. My pick is honestly going to have to be the build team. Wedge, Grimlock, Hightower, and Heavy Load that form Landfill. Simply because not only do you have a strong G1 feel to them, the kind of the blocky robot modes and weapons and everything, they feel like G1 figures. It was outstanding. But the method in which they combine was unprecedented compared to anything else like the Scramble City style or any of that. Was that you had Grimlock, Hightower, and Heavy Load, and they would have these beams or whatever you call them that just come out from their vehicle modes or what have you and connect in kind of a three-way combination, and then Wedge would snap in the middle and lock down and form the base of the torso and head. And you could rotate the odd three that form the limbs to where any of the three could be either one leg or both arms. And it was just amazing in the way they were able to pull that off so well. It was really, really fun figures.
Now, I'm assuming this entire caveat revolves around the fact that we're not picking Scourge because we picked that mold as G2 Laser Prime, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we ruled it out because it doesn't have electronics. It sucks.
Oh, I think it looks better, though, in those colors. That would have been my choice, except I already recommended that toy in different color scheme.
But it doesn't light up.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Now, okay, post Unicron trilogy and everything, there's a lot more. We got animated, we got Prime, we've got the new Red. We got Universe, classics. We got Generations. We could go on for another 2 more hours.
I think most of your new fans, though, that's going to be around the time they came in, because the movie is what brought in a lot of your new fans.
Exactly. But let's go back and say, let's say they're just collecting from the particular lines, like the movie guys are collecting movie toys, the new Red kids are collecting Red toys, and they want to venture out. Let's pick one toy from any line post, from let's say from Universe 2.0 and Classics all the way to right now, that one toy that they may not have. What would you choose?
Well, you got to start with me. I need to think about it.
Okay.
Anybody else got an answer? Go first.
Rick, you go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think the definitive toy of the movieverse is that Leader Class Optimus Prime that you really need to look at the instructions to figure out how to transform if you haven't done it in a while.
Which?
That's the Revenge of the Fallen Leader Optimus Prime.
Okay.
It's a great figure. It's a great representation of how the character looks in the film when you make it into a toy. Great features, super great articulation, lots of detail, especially if you have some of the Japanese repaints of it. It's just incredibly difficult to transform if you haven't transformed it in a while. And it also combines with Jetfire, too. I think that is one of the... Out of all the movie toys out there, I think that's probably the definitive movie toy. I think people need to experience.
If you want the ultimate version of it, in my opinion, Buster Prime.
You guess the Chrome.
Yeah. Buster Prime, the Japanese version. Yep. It's essentially the same toy, but it's got chrome in the places that it needs to have chrome.
Yeah,
but if you hear chrome,
extra weapons, right?
Yeah, I believe it does.
Yeah, the fuel tank guns.
Yeah.
Wish we got that.
What about you, Jim?
Well, not to crap in your oatmeal or anything, but honestly, as far as that Leader Class Optimus, I liked it, but I thought it suffered a bit because it needed to combine with Jetfire, and it also had the electronics, which I thought took away from what it could do as far as posability and things. I thought a better representation of that was a slightly smaller scale, the Battle Blades Optimus Prime, or was it Hooks? Battle Hooks Optimus. Anyway,
Battle Blades.
Well, we got it in. It was like Reveal a Shield or one of them offlines. It wasn't quite Revenge of the Fallen, but it was essentially the same toy, almost identical. Only it was a Voyager class, and it fit better, I thought, into scale with a lot of the deluxes and basics that were out in that same line, or in Revenge of the Fallen and whatnot. And I thought it looked better overall, in my honest opinion, and it went really extremely well alongside the Battle Blades Bumblebee that came out in that same line. There was a deluxe. You had a deluxe car, and it turned into a Voyager robot. I mean, who doesn't love that?
And it also had a Matrix with it too, right?
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
That's a pretty good toy.
Fantastic.
Well, and didn't it also have the little Peter Cullen in it too?
No, that was the.
No, that was movie one. No, that was
Okay.
that was 2007.
Okay.
Which I forgot about that. That was cool.
If I had to pick one, wow.
Well, if you're grouping everything together, I'm just gonna rack in my brain trying to think what's the best classics toy that I would recommend over any movie toy. Because when you first called on me, I was thinking Leader Prime, but I'm like, if we're grouping everything together, all series, there's got to be something I could recommend over a movie toy.
There is one thing that I'm thinking, and you don't get much better than this. Masterpiece MP10 Optimus Prime. That is one of the most beautiful Optimus Primes I have ever seen. It's proportioned right. It just works. And there's other great masterpieces I could easily suggest. I mean, Ultra Magnus is great. Matter of fact, I don't know. I can't say that there is a sucky masterpiece right now.
I can name two sucky masterpieces.
Ravage?
Of the modern era.
Okay, I would say Rodimus and the
Ravage?
Green Starscream.
Ravage is not crap. I love Ravage.
Yeah, I like Ravage.
It's almost like the masterpiece should really be their own thing, because it's a very different market than everything else post movie. It's something that ideally would appeal to the general populace of the Transformers collectors, regardless of age or whenever you came in to the fandom. I think that should we should consider that its own thing.
Not to split hairs or pick nits, but it actually started about 3 years prior to the movie in 2004.
Well, that's the original masterpiece. I'm talking about modern era.
It's still masterpiece.
That's why I chose MP10.
Yeah, because the other ones that were before the movie, you had like the MP01, which MP10 is better. The MP3, of course, MP2 was just repaint. MP3 was the Starscream, the green one that had problems with brittle plastic. Then you had the Megatron, which is just a fiddly mess. And you didn't really get any good masterpieces to Grimlock.
But non-masterpiece. Let's say if I picked a non-masterpiece toy.
It's a tough one.
That is really tough.
When you group everything together. Like, I could recommend a movie toy. I could recommend a classics toy. It's just, all of it together, it's hard to pick one. I think I know what I'll go with, though.
You know you like Revenge of the Fallen Mixmaster.
No.
If you need time to think, I can go.
Yeah, go ahead. I need time to think.
Well, I look back at all the classics toys. Masterpieces made me lose interest in classics. That's why I'm having such a hard time picking one where I would have before, because that was like my definitive, like updated G1 characters. I got to say though, what has stuck with me though is the movies have grown on me. I mean, yeah, they got their problems, but as far as just a nostalgic point, I remember being really excited about the first movie. So the movies to me are a higher point calling back than what the classics was, because classics has been replaced by masterpiece in my collection. I want it was updated G1 characters. Masterpiece is doing it better. So besides the Leader Optimus you've already mentioned, Rick, I would have to say my next favorite one that I would recommend is the concept Camaro Bumblebee from the 2007 movie. I really like the way that toy, it was complex for the time, but not as complex as things got in Revenge of the Fallen. I like the automorph thing where you move one part, another part moves in the legs. And it does a better job of breaking the car bits up over the robot mode than any other version of movie Bumblebee. The head sculpt isn't perfect, but I think just from the neck down, though, the toy is better than the version that came later. Just in the aesthetic, the look, and the ease and fun of transformation. Like, I know a lot of people like the Battle Blades version, but it's tall, lanky, he's got way too much car hood on his chest and shoulders. It doesn't break up enough. And it's more complicated and fiddly to try to get into both modes. I think the 07 concept one just transforms smoother and just a more pleasant experience to mess with.
I think I have mine. And
can I try and guess what it is?
Okay.
Is it Generations Devastator?
No, actually, it's not.
Universe Galvatron.
That's the crappy.
Where exactly is the kick button on Google Plus Hangouts here? No, boot button. Square in the ass is where you need it. But no. Right
Says
over
the guy with the rail team.
Yeah, right over top of Insane Galvatron's head right now. I'm going to go with that guy, Generations Metroplex. Something that absolutely took my breath away the moment I saw it. Metroplex is another one of those G1 characters that has a special place in my heart. I remember the day I don't remember the date, but I remember the day I got my original Metroplex. And so Metroplex is a special, warm place in my heart. And to see something that detailed and that big is just, I had to have it. And it's one of those that if I was to have to sell my entire collection or sell things off, I would have a hard time parting with it. It would be one of the last to go. It really would.
If we're making recommendations to new collectors, if you get anything, because that's why I didn't recommend any Combiner Wars stuff. I love Combiner Wars, but a new collector, that's the current thing they're going to be aware of.
Yeah, well,
but
Generations Metroplex is a couple years ago.
Back a couple years. Yeah, they're a brand new collector. That'd be something new to them.
But that would be my pick. Anything post universe and everything, and if I couldn't pick a masterpiece, I'd go with Generations Metroplex. Now, that's not to say that there's not some other good choices out there.
Which is incidentally the closest thing we'll probably ever get to a masterpiece Metroplex. So you're still kind of picking a masterpiece.
Yeah, I cheated.
Well, there's that. There's the is it Make Toys? The Utopia. That's a really nice Metroplex.
Well, I thought we were just sticking to official for this.
Oh well, that's a really nice toy. That's all I'm saying.
We can pick a third-party toy if you want. But let's hear Jim and Rick's post Unicron trilogy picks, and then we'll pick a third party and we'll wrap.
Didn't they already? He picked Revenge of the Fallen Prime.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Rick did.
That's right. My bad.
We had the not the battle. Is the Battle Blades Prime?
He picked the Voyager version.
Voyager hooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Hooks was the battle damage.
I'm getting old and senile. Okay, so I missed that. All right, let's pick a third party. Let's pick a third-party toy. Rick, go.
Dystopia. It's, I think, the closest we'll ever get to a Metro Titan. And it's a heavy figure. It's a bulky figure. It's expensive. But if you want to really understand what a third-party Transformer is and just how crazy detailed and engineering... How crazily engineered these things can be, I think Utopia, Dystopia, those are the figures you should probably play with.
What about you, Jim?
I have.
If you have
no idea.
I know you don't have
anything third parties.
I know you don't have anything, but anything that if money were no object and you're like, okay, I'm going to go grab a third party toy.
One comes to mind, but I do not recall the name of the thing. I saw it in box at the final SagaCon there in 2013. It was based on the War for Cybertron Omega Supreme. I can't remember what it was called.
Genesis.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. The Phil Collins thing. That was just an amazing looking figure.
But it made you think twice.
Yes.
Just another day. Yeah.
Little difficult to stand up, but it's a great toy.
Well, with those legs, it can't dance.
That was my biggest gripe against that toy. It looked great, but at the same time, it had this big, beefy upper body and then these little bitty dinky legs. Yeah. It's like, what?
Skip leg day.
Yeah, it's like they spent all their time designing the upper part of the body, and they're like, oh crap, we need to hurry up and finish it. But what about you?
A couple legs on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not picking.
It's the Joe Swanson of transforming robots.
I thought that was Generation Sandstorm because he's got the wheelchair mode.
So they pin the legs on him like pinning the tail on Eeyore.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of an afterthought.
No, on a related Joe Swanson note, he's the Tick of transforming robots. Really, really big upper body, little bitty body.
That's a really big spoon.
Yeah. Spoon! Greg.
Okay, my pick.
Yeah, your pick.
it's not going to blow you away with the transformation. I think it's got 2 different modes. One that's supposed to be the official, and then the other was just kind of a bonus mode. I think the bonus mode is better, but the transformation isn't the strongest. It's just the overall build quality, just how impressive this figure is in hand. If I could only recommend one third party, it would be the Perfect Effect Warden. I mean, just if you ever held Warden, just looking at pictures online don't do it justice. You got to get this thing in hand. Just the quality of this thing.
It's got rubber treads.
It's got the rubber treads that move. It's heavy, it's thick, it's robust. The joints are. It's a fantastic. Even official Masterpiece toys don't feel like they have the quality that Warden has, just as an action figure. Like I said, he turns into the head to attach to a G1 Fort Max, and that's the more involved transformation of what he does. But it's not really very useful if you don't have a Fort Max to stick it on. Even if you do, the aesthetic doesn't really fit.
And if you don't have one, go with Toy World Infinitor.
Yeah. But he's also got the tank mode, but the tank mode's kind of parts formery, and he pretty much just kind of folds up, and you take stuff off, and I fold him up and reattach it. So like I said, it's not a real good transformation of the tank mode, but the mode is good, and just as an action figure, if you never tried to, he's got so much articulation. He's even got like an ab crunch. And the way it works, it's not like a lot of toys where there's an obvious seam there where you can tell it's for ab crunching. So when he's standing straight up, he's got like looks like he's been hit with a knife. The way they work everything in, he's got the ab crunch, but when he's just standing up straight, you can't tell there's an ab crunch there. It's just phenomenal engineering just as an action figure. I can't recommend that one enough. I know it's kind of old news at this point. It was a big thing a few years ago. Everybody's kind of moved on, but I'm still blown away by that figure.
One of the things about that figure is, for me, anything third party that's based off IDW, I have to have. So that is like the perfect, like one of the most perfect representations, besides the current DJD guys coming out, of an IDW character.
Yeah, like Senecus and those guys.
Yeah.
My pick for and there are so many great third-party toys out there. It's hard for me to pick just one, but it's a recent pickup for me, and the weight of this toy, the size, the detail, it's so much chrome. It's so pretty, and the G1 accuracy. I'm going with Fans Toys Soar, the not Masterpiece Swoop. Just absolutely amazing toy. And for Fans Toys has been knocked for some of their QC issues, but to that I say what company hasn't? Hasbro and Takara have the same thing. You can get crap from official lines, but overall the engineering, it's just a great toy. Love it. Last week I was listening to the podcast at work the other night, and last week it was asked around the board who everybody's favorite third party was. I am without shame a Fans Toys fanboy. I love Fans Toys. I love Maki Toy. I love Toy World. Those are my top 3 right there. But Fans Toys, if you're going for the Masterpiece aesthetic, they nail it with prejudice. There is like nobody that gets it better than them. And I would dare say they do it at times better than Takara does, with some of the detail and the complexity and just the overall feel of these toys. To me, they feel more Masterpiece than actual masterpieces, and that's saying something. There's a lot of people, and one of them sitting right here, they balk at the $200 price of some of those Masterpiece, or of some of those Fans Toys dinos. But to me, it's like, now that I actually have a couple, I have Scoria, I have Soar, and I've handled Sever, the Snarl. Scoria is a slag, for those who don't know. But I've handled those 3, and all of those 3 they are just amazing toys.
And I don't balk at the price. I think they probably are worth the $200. I mean, I've paid that for like the reissue Starscream. For me, it's just the fact that I could buy just Starscream, and it's $200. But I know if I start down that road with the Dinobots, I'm going to get all 4, and then I'm going to need the Grimlock that scales with them. Then I'm looking at that's $1,000 just for Dinobots.
You have foot pads.
I don't like the foot pads, though.
But seriously though,
but they are awesome. If I had $1,000, money's no object, I might pick.
I'm a Dinobots fanboy, and if I'm going to have if we get official Masterpiece Dinobots, which I seriously doubt, but if we do, it's down the road. It's way down the road, and these things, the quality, there's so much die cast on them, and they are just beautiful toys. They are worth it. And I was actually with you. I mean, you know I was. I was with you up until a few months ago, and then I do photography for Captured Prey, and I was sent a production sample of Fans Toys Sever to photograph for the website, and I messed with that toy for 4 days straight. I could not put it down. I'm like, just handling it for the first time. I'm like, this is Snarl. I'm gushing here. I can't stop enough. But yeah, that's my pick. I want to ask all the fans, what are your picks? We're going to post a list of our picks in the Facebook group once the episode goes off the air. We're going to post those and for people to agree and disagree with, and we'd like to hear your thoughts and who are your picks from throughout the ages. There's a lot of great things out there, and a lot of new fans who are out there, and there's just so much for them to look for and want. And if you've got a limited budget, or you don't want a room full of toys, but you want some nice display cases that you can fill with certain items, here are our picks for top ones, and I want to hear other people's thoughts on those too. Any of you guys have any closing comments or thoughts along these lines?
Well, I'm very excited for the future of the brand. I think the last year we've seen some definite improvements as far as Generations and Masterpiece go. Combiner Wars, the upcoming Titan Wars, the Masterpieces that have been announced. I think the next year is going to be a wonderful year to be a Transformers collector.
Absolutely.
My wallet is screaming already. But
yeah, the Titans, I'm looking forward to. Another reason why I don't want to recommend Metroplex is because Fort Max is supposedly a remold of that, and it looks more awesome.
From what I've seen,
Headmaster.
From what I've seen and heard about the Fort Max coming up, the consensus seems to be that there is so much heavy remolding that there's actually very little of the original Metroplex mold left in it.
Man, as long as it's based on the same skeleton, though, it's still technically a remold.
Sure. But they would be essentially about the same as, say, Magnus and Power Master Prime, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad we did this now, because if we'd got after Titans Return came out, I'd had a hard time not recommending that stuff, because I'm more excited about this than any current line, probably since Classics first came out.
Other than Masterpiece, Titan Return stuff, I'm. The moment I see that Weird Wolf on the shelf and I know it's coming, I'm going to cry. I really am. I'm going to cry. Going to cry, people.
Oh, man. I'm going to feel about Galvatron. Are you kidding?
Yeah. You're probably going to have to be bailed out of jail because of the inappropriate things you're going to be doing to it in store.
Like I won't contain myself till I get home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that big cannon. Mm-mm.
Where's your paperboy?
And it's a headmaster. Well, Titan Master. But.
Yeah.
And the headmaster turns into a little Megatron, which is so fitting because Megatron became Galvatron.
Now, what was the name they gave for that? They're not actually calling it Megatron, even though it obviously
wasn't it like Nucleon or something?
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Which was actually not a name of a person. That was always the name of like a chemical.
Right.
I don't care. He'll be Megatron on my shelf.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's hear your thoughts, guys. I want to hear the listeners. Tweet us at TFYLP, post in our Facebook group. What are your thoughts on this? We've been ramping up, and I pimped it really heavily at the beginning of the show. And in case that got cut off, I want to remind everybody, next week we're not going to be broadcasting on Friday night. Not even going to bother attempting to compete with Star Wars on opening night.
Nope.
So not even going to bother with that. But December 19th, on Saturday night, a week from tomorrow, we are airing at a special time at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to do a Secret Santa gift opening. We've already sent out our gifts to the people that we got, and we're going to be picking those up and opening them up on air. And I'm sure there's going to be some surprises and some things that it's like, wow, I can't believe that. And I'm sure there's going to be some laughter, some like, oh wow, I can't believe you got me that. Like, Greg got cocked today, so.
Not really. He wrapped my present so that it looked like a giant penis. I actually was outside the wire.
I have pictures, and I will share them in the private group, and video. Guys, check out next week's episode. We've got more surprises, so if you don't just tune in for a few minutes and go watch something else or listen to it, you're going to want to watch it too. There's some really special stuff that's going to happen on this episode.
Don't blow your load and bail too soon. The good stuff's in there if you hang in.
Yeah. It's a really it's shaping up to be really good. And the thing is the rest of the cast don't even know. Only me and maybe one other person knows, and it's going to be a big surprise, and it's more of a surprise for the rest of the fandom too. I want a nice little Merry Christmas for everybody, and Happy Holidays. So unless everybody has any other things they want to add, you?
Nope.
Rick?
I'm good.
All right,
Looking forward
Jim?
to next week.
Well, not officially on topic, but I totally met Peter Spellos this past week, the voice of R.I.D. Skybite. Yes.
You went Skybite.
Did
you talk to him?
I did. Very awesome individual. I got my Generation Skybite autographed, but he was actually directing a like a 1920s, 30s NBC radio style performance of It's a Wonderful Life. Just down in Franklin, Indiana, last Tuesday, and it was really, really well done. So, very cool guy, very friendly. So, if you're watching this, Peter, hi.
But guys, check us out next week. Special night, special time, December 19th, 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm going to share it everywhere I possibly can.
Spread the word.
Spread the word.
Be there or be square because you're not around.
If you're watching on YouTube, right down there, see that little thing says subscribe? Please do that. We'd love to know that you like to watch this, and we love hearing from our fans. Last week's episode was nothing but fan questions answered and discussed, and it was a really entertaining listen. I listened to it at work. Once we finally got it downloaded, thanks to Jim.
Yay! Awesome.
Yeah.
They talked about like who would win in an all-out brawl. And they all said Brett because he has the training. Because I guess it was a listener question if we had a TFYLP brawl.
Yeah.
The thing is, we all know Brett's the biggest threat. So if we ganged up on him and eliminated him first,
well,
you guys
can't beat a whole mob of us.
You guys know I teach martial arts, right?
Okay, so after we get rid of Brett, then we team up and get rid of you.
But the thing is you as far as the podcast goes, there ain't nothing you all can do to me because I can boot you all.
Well, in all that brawl in person, you can't just kick us out of the room.
Well, aside from Tobias, I am the biggest one of us all.
I can boot too.
Rick says the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Yeah.
That's only if they have the itty bitty legs.
Hey,
huge upper torso.
Okay, I have taken a black hole slam from the Monster Abyss, so I know how to take a hit. I can take a bump.
You say you took a slam in the black hole?
I can take a bump. So, all right.
Yeah, he can take a bump.
I'm 6'1", 255 pounds of awesome. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We're the same size.
I'm a big sack of crap.
I see your schlots is as big as mine.
I'm more muscle, you know.
I'll just eat plenty of beans.
Hey, my muscles jiggle, okay?
Guys, this has been episode 181 of TFYLP. I am Weird Wolf with Insane Galvatron, co-founder of TFYLP, Rick Alvarez, and Jim Black. We will see you next week on our holiday episode, final live broadcast of 2015. It'll be the last show of this fiscal year and this calendar year. We won't come back until after January 1st. So tune in. It's going to be a great time. Spend your Saturday evening into Sunday with us. I don't think we'll go that long, but hey, it's sure to be a very entertaining 2 hours. And check it out. Spread the word. We will see you next time on Transformers for your listening pleasure. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. That's Saturday, not Friday, by the way.
That's right. See ya.
Saturday.